grandes cantidades de dinero. Si alguien puede cooperar con cualquier cantidad, adelante, y nosotros vamos a canalizar la ayuda en todo Estados Unidos. Esperemos que llegue la ayuda. Ahorita alguien ya depositó $100, Pati, ¿ok? Adelante, dinos.
Ok. Muchísimas gracias. Debe de haber sido el señor Ismael con su mariachi, ¿verdad?
Así es, efectivamente.
Bueno, como les contaba, la cuenta se llama Alianza Latina. Se pueden meter a GoFundMe, buscan ahí Alianza Latina y esa es nuestra organización. Ahí mismo pueden hacer sus donaciones. Ahorita más que nada es cuando estamos pidiendo la ayuda del público, la ayuda de los radioescuchas y todas las personas que quieran unirse a esta causa para que las personas que están detenidas en centros de inmigración puedan tener la asesoría de un abogado. Ahora, no estamos Alberto y yo solos, tenemos abogados. Comenzamos él y yo nada más con ideas que pusimos a trabajar y gracias a Dios hasta ahorita hemos tenido mucha participación de abogados. Tenemos una lista de abogados que están trabajando conjuntamente con nosotros, con la organización, ayudando a este tipo de personas. Ahora, algunos de nuestros abogados o de los abogados que están trabajando con nosotros están dando asesoría legal gratuita. Entonces es bien importante, si hay personas que nos están sintonizando en estos momentos, que se contacten con Alberto Godínez. Se pueden meter al Facebook, tiene su página de Facebook como Alberto Godínez, o yo estoy como Pati S. Chávez. Se pueden meter a la página de él o a la página mía. Ahí tenemos el link para que puedan hacer su donación por medio de GoFundMe. Entonces les repito, se pueden meter a la página de Facebook de Alberto Godínez. Ahí van a encontrar el link para hacer su donación de GoFundMe.
La participación
Entonces,
tiene...
hermano...
Sí, decía yo que la participación va a ser para todo mundo. Miren, habrá gente que no tenga dinero para donar, pero sí tendrá el tiempo y el tino de difundir esta noticia. Dirá, yo no tengo dinero, pero mi amigo sí tiene dinero y puede donar determinada cantidad. Por eso es importante que se difunda. Y ese es el objetivo de que esta noticia se haga viral y poder apoyar a estos amigos que están pues ahora sí que encarcelados, ¿verdad? En las cárceles de migración. De otra forma no se les puede llamar, aunque les dicen centro de retención, pero pues es lo mismo, es una cárcel, hombre, pues ¿para qué le adornamos? ¿Cuál sería, por ejemplo, cuál sería la política, la forma de hacer calificar los apoyos que ustedes están buscando y ofreciendo para estas gentes que están detenidas? ¿Cómo va a ser ahora sí que los requisitos o el perfil que deberá reunir el candidato para que le brinden ustedes el apoyo? No nada más el pago de la primera entrevista con un abogado para ver el caso, sino que pues totalmente el pago de lo que vaya a salir por la defensa de esta persona a la que se vaya a elegir. ¿Cuál es el parámetro? ¿Cuál es el perfil?
Okay.
Adelante. Mira, lo que tenemos en esta organización que acabamos de formar, Alianza Latina, la tenemos bien diseñada, donde las personas que nos llamen a través, por ejemplo, de esos programas, recibo la llamada, la canalizamos con Patti, ella tiene la experiencia legal, ella va a hacer unos cuestionamientos, ¿verdad? Y no voy a hacer unos cuestionamientos para saber qué persona califica para recibir qué clase de ayuda. Trataremos de ayudarles en lo máximo que podamos, desde la entrevista gratis con abogados que nos están regalando su tiempo. Son abogados que nos están regalando su tiempo, que hemos contactado, que hemos ido a visitar, que hemos hablado con ellos, y posteriormente o les vamos a pagar la primera consulta con el abogado, o les vamos a pagar. Pero Patti nos puede explicar un poquito más de esto.
Claro que sí, es importante mencionar también a profe Cortés, Alberto, que dependiendo también de la participación que tengamos por parte de la comunidad, o sea, si nosotros queremos pagarles toda la asistencia legal a todas las personas que no la tienen o que no tienen la posibilidad de pagar un abogado, pero si no vemos mucha cooperación, entonces tenemos que buscar otros medios de obtener fondos para ayudar en lo que más se pueda. Ahora, le repetimos, como acaba de decir mi compañero Alberto, el propósito de la organización es que todas las personas...
Hey, how you doing? It's 7:31 p.m. and this is Richard Slezak. You are listening to the voiceofstockton.org and just a live broadcast start, and we're doing community radio for Stockton from here. We're going to be broadcasting live on FM here in the next few months. And you can be a member as a citizen. You can be a member as a business. Although some of us have peculiar opinions on what constitutes a human being, and we don't consider corporations human beings. That is, most of us here with the Peace and Justice Network, we know they're business legal entities. Be that as it may, you got us there online, so sign on up and become a member and become a sponsor kind of member if you're a small business in the Stockton area. And we'd love to have you. And you could, and if you got any ideas for radio, bring them. Bring them, oh yeah. And we're multimedia. So we have printed word, we have YouTube, Facebook, and we are radio webcasting and soon to be FM broadcasting. Speaking of sponsors, here are some of our fine sponsors, and I'm going to be sharing those with you. Hey, you know what? Since we're webcasting, let me get a camera on me. There we go. All right. Okay, and how we doing, world? Howdy. And, now we need to get the actual broadcast out onto the Facebook and the YouTube. And let me... look like it helped. Oh, hey, it did. There it is. Right on. Okay, good. Got that going. And again, it's 7:34. I'm going to mark that. FB and YT. Ooh, one of my favorite terms, YT. Did click in with box switch thrown. Kaboom. Alrighty. Hotel Furniture Liquidators at 1648 North Shaw Road. That's nearest cross street is East Fremont. It's out there by Franklin High School. Fine neighborhood. Stretch of Stockton. Go out there and buy yourself some former hotel furniture for your domicile, for your kid to lay his head on a decent bed, you know. Take care of him. He's going to be taking care of you when you're old. And don't put him out of the house when he turns 18. What kind of, don't be that kind of reptile. Make sure they got things rolling right. And you're right, too. All right. Need some books? Here's where you can get the books on the books. The Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue, and Doors Book Recyclery, 2310 Pacific Avenue. T-shirt printing, business cards, and such like. And yup, then, Lodi, head right on over to 500 East Lodi Avenue at Garfield, Suite A. It's Lita's T-shirt printing. You can get it printed up real good at Lita's T-shirt printing up in Lodi. The Donut Jones, Tender Donuts. We bake fresh daily. Yeah, they open up 4:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday and 5:30 on Sundays. Boy! Open till 6. Janrath Sam and Siv Sam at 1304 East Hammer Lane, Suite 15. That's over there near Holman. And get down with some tender donuts. Millennium Computer Repair, get that, parts repaired, parts replaced, software tended to lovingly by Sarfraz Khan. Give them a call in the 209-922-1879. That is Millennium Computer Repair. You need stuff for your house, your building? Always check out, be it janitorial, be it construction materials, be it electrical, HVAC. They got it. It was used lovingly. Restore, Habitat for Humanity. Restore at 4933 West Lane. Restore 100 yards south of March Lane at 4933 West Lane. And the stuff comes and goes, but I found 2x4s in there, wall board, insulation, heaters, water heaters, doors and windows. Plastics, that's where the future is. At 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, Custom Plastics and Signs. Do plastic fabrications to build you a display for your store. Signage, stencils, vehicle and boat graphics. Signage, oh yeah, you running for office? Yeah, look them up. T-shirts and business cards printed. All that and all the plastic sheets, tubes, and rods at Custom Plastics and Signs. 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. And we got a 739 here at the Voice of Stockton. Continuing. I wanna know what the weather's gonna be. La-dee-dee, la-dee-dee. And let's take a look at the big map. Not much going on over California except down in the Tehachapis and the transverse ranges. Looks to be a wind advisory. Yuck, I hope that, oh man, that's all they need is more fires down there, but it has been raining. So let's look at what the local weather has in store for us. And working the magic box. And here we go. And there we go. As of 7:20 p.m. at Stockton Metropolitan Airport, it is 55 degrees. It's fair weather. Humidity at 51%. Wind is 12 miles per hour out of the west-northwest. Barometer is at 30.1 inches of mercury. Dew point at 37 degrees Fahrenheit. And scroll down the page to tonight's weather forecast. Mostly clear with a low of 40. Tomorrow sunny with a high of 66. Monday night clear with a low of 44. Tuesday sunny with a high of 73. Boy, these are good numbers. I like them. Tuesday night mostly clear with a low of 48. Wednesday sunny with a high of 76. Wednesday night mostly clear with a low of 51. Thursday sunny with a high of 78. And Thursday night mostly clear with a low of 53. Yeah, you don't need your sweatpants on underneath your pants this week at work. I work outside all day, so that's something I've been doing. And spring is here, and the temperatures are according. All right, so let us continue to march, and I'm going to bring up the audition and get us started. And put in today's date. Today is the 325 day, and for those of you who are automotive aficionados, that's a Chevrolet engine. Let's just call it the Islam Show. Here we go. 7:42, 3, 2, 1. What? Okay. Let me redo something here. And 8-03-25. Islam Show. Okay, hopefully this will do it. And 3, 2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Those webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. It is the Sunday Night Islam Show, coming to you from the John Moriarty Studio, 231 West Bedford Road, Stockton, California. Looks like we got 7:43 p.m. And again, I'm Richard, and we started last week, came through. We're into the Medinan Surahs, and as a general thumbnail sketch, we're up in Medina now. Now early on, back around the middle Meccan or so, around 616, a bunch of people from Yathrib, Arabs, really began to they were drifting towards monotheism because they lived in Yathrib, 4 Arab tribes and 3 Jewish tribes, and the Jews had scripture and they had a single God, and the Arabs didn't have the single God, and they didn't have scriptures, but they wanted to have a single. They were drifting towards monotheism. And there was, so 616, here was Muhammad preaching his monotheism. And there were the ingrained tribal rivalry had surfaced. And this is from the book Muhammad by Karen Armstrong, who's quite the historian and theologic writer. And the Aus and the Khazraj were now engaged in a bloody conflict with one another. The Jewish clans had become involved in their struggle, Nadir and Qurayza supporting Aus, while the Kenuka was allied with the Khazraj. By 617, there was a stalemate. Neither side could gain ascendancy. Everybody was exhausted by the violence. Abdullah ibn Ubay, chief of the Khazraj, had stood aloof from the fighting and thus acquired a reputation for impartiality. Some saw him as a possible king or supreme chief who can enforce law and order. Arabs were averse to monarchy, and this type of experiment had never worked well on the peninsula. The Aus were reluctant to hand leadership to a member of the Khazraj, while the other chiefs of the Khazraj were equally unwilling to relinquish their power to Ibn Ubay. The 6 pilgrims immediately realized As the spokesman of Allah, Muhammad would be a far more effective arbitrator, that is, a hakam, than Ibn Ubay. They had no problem with his religious message. They made their formal surrender to God on the spot with high hopes. They had finally God had finally sent a prophet to the Arabs. We had left our people, for no tribe is so divided by hatred and rancor as they. Perhaps God will unite them through you. So let us go to them and invite them to this religion of yours. And if God unites them in it, then no man will be mightier than you. And Muhammad told them that. But they admitted that they had little influence in the oasis and needed to consult their chiefs and wise men. If he was to be an effective hakam, it was essential that he have wide support. They promised to report back to Muhammad in a year's time. It was a decisive moment. Circumstances had forced Muhammad to look beyond Mecca and even to entertain the extraordinary idea of abandoning his tribe to take up permanent residence with another. Now, again, this is catching up on things. This was around 618 by that time, moving ahead. While awaiting developments in Yathrib, Muhammad made some changes in his household. He needed a wife. It was suggested Sauda, and the cousin and sister-in-law of Subail, the devout pagan chief of the Qurayshan clan of Amr. She had been married to one of the Muslims who had migrated to Abyssinia in 616, but was now a widow, and this would be a good match for her. Abu Bakr was also anxious to forge a closer link with the Prophet and proposed that he should marry his daughter Aisha, who was then 6 years old. Aisha was formally betrothed to Muhammad in a ceremony at which the little girl was not present. In later years, she recalled the first inkling she had of her new status was when her mother explained to her that she could no longer play in the streets, but must invite her friends into the family house. Muhammad's harem has excited a good deal of prurient and ill-natured speculation in the West. So, alrighty, that's an update. And we're getting to 750. Pages 91, 92. Muhammad. Bio shared. Okay. So he's going to be going up to Medina, and it's good. And Muhammad may also have hoped to win over Suhail, who was still undecided about the revelations. And during the Hajj of 622, the 6 converts from Yathrib daily returned to Mecca, bringing 7 others with them. Again, they met Muhammad in the gully of Aqaba and in what would become known as the Pledge of Aqaba, promised to worship Allah alone, to refrain from stealing, lying, and infanticide, and pledged to obey Muhammad's directives concerning social justice. In return, Muhammad promised them paradise In the first pact, the emphasis was on religion and ethics, and there was as yet no political commitment. When the pilgrims returned to Yathrib, they took with them Musab ibn Umayr, a trusted Muslim, to instruct the people of Yathrib in their new faith. And that was the Hajj of 621. This was a wise move. Tribal hatred was so intense on the oasis, neither Aus nor Khazraj could bear to hear a rival leading the prayers and reciting the Quran. And it was not long before there were Muslims in almost every family in the oasis. In Mecca, Muhammad's preaching mission had stalled largely because the Quraysh could not believe that such an ordinary person could become the messenger of Allah. The Jewish tribes were also prepared to give Muhammad the benefit of the doubt up in Yathrib. Muslims now prayed facing the direction of Jerusalem after the night journey. So that was 621. Reaching out to the holy city of the people of the book, Muhammad also instructed Musab to hold special prayer meetings on Friday afternoon while the Jews were preparing for their Sabbath, and to fast with the Jews on Yom Kippur. Muslims would now pray in the middle of the day as the Jews did and observe a modified version of the Jewish dietary laws, similar to those adopted by the early Christians. Scholars used to think Muhammad introduced these new devotions in order to appeal to the Jews of Yathrib, but this view has recently been challenged. And there again, what's developing in Yathrib and what was going on in now the Muslims of Yathrib, this is page 97, were embarking on a dangerous experiment. Even if a foreigner was adopted by the tribe, he always remained a zalim, an outsider, a word which carried connotations, base, ignoble, evil. Poets describe the zalim as a useless, superfluous accretion. Tribal loyalty was experienced as burning love of kinfolk and harsh contempt for the alien. Anybody who put a despised zalim before his own people invited passionate scorn and revulsion. And then it goes into... So, okay. Let us get to our reading for this evening. And for that, let us go over to the big table and get some more lights on going in here. 7:55. And bam. Alrighty, let me one set of earphones off. And another on. Okay. Get the cameras going on this way. Ooh, man, that's rotting my face. And we'll leave that one that way. Bring this over here. Bring that over there. Uh-oh. Don't need that. And okay. Bring that this away. And it's all okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. get these computer screens up bright and where I can see them. Okay. Alrighties. Okay. With this, we go into Surah 2, and Muhammad is much clarification on what constitutes Islam. And we continue. They say, accept Jewish or the Christian faith, and you shall be rightly guided. Say, by no means. We believe in the faith of Abraham, the upright one. He was no idolater. Reading from the N.J. Dawood, 1956, first published translation of the Quran. This is the third rewrite of it, or as the, yes, 1970 reprint. It was the third reprint. Or, let me go back to the front of the book here. That is third revised edition, 1968, reprinted 1970. So this is 48-year-old book. Oh well. Continuing. Say, we believe in Allah and that which is revealed to us. We believe in what was revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes, to Moses and Jesus and the other prophets. We make no distinction between any of them, and to Allah we have surrendered ourselves. If they accept your faith, they shall be rightly guided. If they reject it, they shall surely be in schism against them. Allah is your all-sufficient defender. He hears all and knows all. We take on Allah's own die. And who has a better die than Allah's? Say, would you dispute with us about him? Who is our Lord and your Lord? We shall both be judged by our works. To him alone we are devoted. Do you claim that Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes were all Jews or Christians? Do you know better than Allah himself? Who is more wicked than the man who hides a testimony which he has received from Allah? He is watching over all your actions. That nation have passed away. Theirs is what they did, and yours is what you have done. You shall not be questioned about their actions. The foolish will ask, what has made them change their Qibla? Say, the east and the west are Allah's. He guides whom he will to the right path. And it looks like we're approaching the top of the hour here. And this is the voice of Stockton.org. It is 8 p.m. This is the Sunday Night Islam Show with your host, Richard Slezak. We're reading Surah 2. Continuing. We have made you a just nation so that you may testify against mankind and that your own apostle may testify against you. We decreed your former Qibla only in order that we might know the apostles' true adherents. And at this time, their Qibla was to Jerusalem. For a while, it had been to Mecca, to the Kaaba. Those who were to disown him, again, we might know the apostles' true adherents and those who were to disown him. It was indeed a hard test, but not to those whom Allah guided. He was not to make your faith fruitless. He is compassionate and merciful to men. Many a time we have seen you turn your eyes towards heaven. We will make you turn towards a Qibla that will please you. turn towards the holy mosque whenever you be face towards it. Those to whom the scriptures were given know this to be the truth from their Lord. Allah is watching over all their actions. But even if you gave them every proof, they would not accept your Qibla, nor would you accept theirs, nor would any of their sects accept the Qibla of each other. After all the knowledge you have been given, you yield to their desires, then you will surely become an evildoer. Those to whom we gave the scriptures know our apostle as they know their own sons. But some of them deliberately conceal the truth. This is the truth from your Lord, therefore never doubt it. Each one has a goal towards which he turns, but wherever you be, emulate one another in good works. Allah will bring you all before him. He has power over all things. Whichever way you depart, face towards the holy mosque, and wherever you are, face towards it, so that men will have no cause to reproach you except the evildoers among them. Have no fear of them, fear me, so that I may perfect my favor to you, and that you may be rightly guided. So apparently here, what had been from the night journey, which was one of the late Meccan surahs, to Surah 2 now, from basically around 620 to 623, the Muslims had been facing Jerusalem in prayer, and then they now in 623, that's the time frame of this, of Surah 2, they're reverting to facing Mecca. Thus we have sent forth to you an apostle of your own, who will recite to you our revelations and purify you of sin, who will instruct you in the book and in wisdom, and teach you that of which you have no knowledge. Remember me then, and I will remember you. Give thanks to me, and never deny me. Believers, fortify yourselves with patience and prayer. Allah is with those that are patient. Do not say that those who were slain in the cause of Allah are dead. They are alive, although you are not aware of them. We shall test your steadfastness with fear and famine. With loss of life and property and crops. Give good news to those who endure with fortitude, who in adversity say, we belong to Allah, and to him we shall return. On such men will be Allah's blessing and mercy. Such men are rightly guided. And okay, just one note here. Audition start was at 7:43. Okay. Safiya and Marwa are beacons of Allah. It shall be no offense for the pilgrim or the visitor to the sacred house to walk round them. He that does good of his own accord shall be rewarded by Allah. Allah has knowledge of all things. Okay, now Safa and Marwa, there are a few footnotes in this the Quran. There are two hills near Mecca held in reverence by pagan Arabs. It shall be no offense for the pilgrims to visit the sacred house to walk round them. Okay. For Allah has knowledge of all things. Those that hide the clear proofs and the guidance we have revealed after we have proclaimed them in the Scriptures shall be cursed by Allah and man, except those that repent and mend their ways and make known the truth. Okay, we have 806 and page 340 and Safa and Marwa Hill circums were pagan Arab custom. Alrighty. We have proclaimed them in the Scriptures, shall be cursed by Allah and man, except those that repent and mend their ways and make known the truth. Towards them I shall relent. I am the relenting one, the merciful. But the infidels who die unbelievers shall incur the curse of Allah. The angels and those who invoke damnation. Under it they shall remain forever. Their punishment shall not be lightened, nor shall they be reprieved. Your God is one God. There is no God but Him. He is the compassionate, the merciful. In the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alteration of night and day, in the ships that sail the oceans with cargoes beneficial to man, in the water which Allah sends down from the sky, and with which He revives the dead earth, dispersing over it all manner of beasts, in the movements of the winds and in the clouds that are driven between earth and sky, surely in those there are signs for rational men. Yet there are some who worship idols, bestowing on them the adoration due to Allah. Although the love of Allah is stronger in the faithful. But when they face their punishment, the wrongdoers will know that might is His alone, and that Allah is stern in retribution. When they face their punishment, the leaders will disown them, will disown their followers, and the bonds which now unite them will break asunder. Those who followed them will say, could we but live again, we would disown them as they have now disowned us. Thus Allah will show them their own works. They shall sigh with remorse, but shall never come out of hell. Men eat of what is lawful and wholesome on the earth, and do not walk in Satan's footsteps, for he is your sworn enemy. He enjoins you to commit evil and indecency, and to assert about Allah what you do not know. When it was said to me, follow what Allah has revealed, they reply, we will follow that which our fathers practiced, even though their fathers were senseless men lacking in guidance. In preaching to the unbelievers, the apostles may be compared to the one who calls on beasts that can hear nothing except a shout and a cry. Deaf, dumb, and blind, they understand nothing. Believers, eat of the wholesome things with which we have provided you, and give thanks to Allah, if it is He whom you worship. He has forbidden you the flesh of animals that die a natural death, blood, and pig's meat. Also any flesh that is consecrated in the name of any other than Allah. But whoever is constrained to eat any of these through neither appetite nor willful sin incurs no guilt. Allah is forgiving and merciful. Those that suppress any part of the Scriptures which Allah has revealed in order to gain some paltry end shall swallow nothing but fire into their bellies. On the day of resurrection, Allah will neither speak to them nor purify them. Theirs shall be a woeful punishment. Such are those that barter guidance for error and forgiveness for punishment. How steadfastly they seek the fire of hell. That is because Allah has revealed the book with the truth. Those that disagree about it are in schism. Righteousness does not consist in whether you face towards the east or the west. The righteous man is he who believes in Allah and the last day, in the angels and the scriptures and the prophets, who for the love of Allah gives his wealth to his kinfolk, to the orphans, to the needy, to the wayfarers, to the beggars, and for the redemption. Oh my. Double check about this. For the redemption of captives, who attends to his prayers and pays the alms tax, who is true to his promises and steadfast in trial and adversity and in times of war. Such are the true believers, such are the God-fearing. Believers, retaliation is decreed for you in bloodshed. A free man for a free man, a slave for a slave, a female for a female. He who is pardoned by his aggrieved brother shall be prosecuted according to usage and shall pay him a liberal fine. This is a merciful dispensation from your Lord. He that transgresses thereafter shall be sternly punished. Men of understanding, in retaliation you have a safeguard for your lives. Perchance you will guard yourselves against evil. It is decreed that when death approaches, those of you that leave property shall bequeath it equitably to parents and kindred. This is a duty incumbent on the righteous. He that alters a will after hearing it shall be accountable for his crime. Allah bears all and knows all. He that suspects an error or an injustice on the part of a testator and brings about a settlement among the parties incurs no guilt. Allah is forgiving and merciful. We're going to hold there in the middle of 342. And what time? Looks like we're getting to have 8:15. Wah. Caught it with my shoe. That's normal. I'm going to take a quick drink here, people. There I am. Oh, boy. Woo. What time we getting to have? Okay, 8:15 it is. You are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. And men of understanding, okay, I'm going to take it from the top, page 342. Believers, retaliation is decreed for you. Men of understanding, in retaliation you have a safeguard for your lives. Perchance you will guard yourselves against evil. It is decreed that when death approaches, those of you that leave property shall bequeath it equitably to parents and kindred. He that suspects an error or an injustice on the part of a testator and brings about a settlement among the parties incurs no guilt. Allah is forgiving and merciful. Believers, fasting is decreed for you. It was decreed for those before you. Perchance you will guard yourselves against evil. Fast a certain number of days, but if any one of you is ill or on a journey, let him fast a similar number of days later on. And for those that can afford it, if there is a ransom, the feeding of a poor man. He that does good of his own accord shall be well rewarded, but to fast is better for you, if you but knew it. In the month of Ramadan, the Quran was revealed, a book of guidance with proofs of guidance distinguishing right from wrong. Therefore, whoever of you is present in that month, let him fast, but he who is ill or on a journey shall fast a similar number of days later on. Allah desires your well-being, not your discomfort. He desires you to fast the whole month so that you may magnify him and render thanks to him for giving you his guidance. When my servants question you about me, tell them that I am near. I answer the prayer of the suppliant when he calls to me. Therefore, let them answer my call and put their trust in me, that they may be rightly guided. It is now lawful for you to lie with your wives on the night of the fast. They are a comfort to you as you are to them. Allah knows that you were deceiving yourselves. He has relented towards you and pardoned you. Therefore you may now lie with them and seek what Allah has ordained for you. Eat and drink until you can tell a white thread from a black one in the light of the coming dawn. Then resume the fast till nightfall, and do not approach them, but stay at your prayers in the mosques. These are the bounds set by Allah. Do not come near them. Thus he makes known his revelations to mankind, that they may guard themselves against evil. Do not usurp one another's property by unjust means, nor bribe with it the judge in order that you may knowingly and wrongfully deceive others of their possessions. They question you about the phases of the moon, say they are seasons fixed for mankind and for the pilgrimage. Righteousness does not consist in entering your dwellings from the back. The righteous man is he that fears Allah. Enter your dwellings by their doors and fear Allah, so that you may prosper. Fight for the sake of Allah those that fight against you, but do not attack them first. Allah does not love the aggressors. Kill them wherever you find them. Drive them out of the places from which they drove you. Idolatry is worse than carnage, but do not fight them within the precincts of the holy mosque, unless they attack you there. If they attack you, put them to the sword. Thus shall the unbelievers be rewarded. But if they mend their ways, know that Allah is forgiving and merciful. Fight against them until idolatry is no more, and Allah's religion reigns supreme. But if they mend their ways, fight none except the evildoers. A sacred month for a sacred month, sacred things too. Oh my. Oh wait, sacred things too are subject to retaliation. If anyone attacks you, attack him as he attacked you. Have fear of Allah and know that Allah is with the righteous. Give generously for the cause of Allah and do not with your own hands cast yourselves into destruction. Be charitable. Allah loves the charitable. Now I'm going to take note of page 343. I think that also started on 342. And in the month of, okay, that was, 342 retaliation. 342, 343, fight for Allah's cause, retaliation. Continuing. Make the pilgrimage and visit the sacred house for his sake. If you cannot, send such offerings as you can afford, and do not shave your heads until the offerings have reached their destination. But if any of you is ill or suffers from an ailment of the head, he must pay a ransom either by fasting or by almsgiving or by offering a sacrifice. If in peacetime any one of you combines the visit with the pilgrimage, he must offer such gifts as he can afford. But if he lacks the means, let him fast 3 days during the pilgrimage and 7 when he has returned, that is 10 days in all. That is incumbent on him whose family are not present at the holy mosque. Have fear of Allah. Know that he is stern in retribution. Make the pilgrimage in the appointed months. He that intends to perform it in those months must abstain from sexual intercourse, obscene language, and acrimonious disputes while on the pilgrimage. Allah is aware of whatever good you do. Provide yourselves where, well, the best provision is piety. Fear me then, you that are endowed with understanding. It shall be no offense for you to seek the bounty of your Lord by trading. When you come running from Arafat, remember Allah as you approach the sacred monument. Now Arafat is near Mecca. Remember him that gave you guidance when you were in error. Then go out from the place whence the pilgrims will go out and implore the forgiveness of Allah. He is forgiving and merciful, and when you have fulfilled your sacred duties, remember Allah as you remember your forefathers, or with deeper reverence. There are some who say, Lord, give us abundance in this world. These shall have no share in the world to come. But there are others who say, quote, Lord, give us what is good both in this world and in the next, and keep us from the fire of hell. These shall be rewarded for their deeds. Swift is the reckoning of Allah. Give glory to Allah on the appointed days. He that departs on the second day incurs no sin, nor does he who stays longer, if he truly fears Allah. Have fear of Allah, then, and know that you shall all be gathered before him. There are some men whose views on this life please you. They even call on Allah to vouch for that which is in their hearts, whereas in fact they are the deadliest of your opponents. No sooner do they leave you than they hasten to commit evil in the land, destroying crops and cattle. Allah does not love evil. When it is said to them, have fear of Allah, vanity cries out, vanity carries them off to sin. Hell shall be enough for them, a dismal resting place. Okay, but there are others who would give away their lives in trade in order to find favor with Allah. Allah is compassionate to his servants. Believers, submit all of you to Allah and do not walk in Satan's footsteps. He is your sworn enemy. If you lapse back after the veritable signs that have been shown you, you know that Allah is mighty and wise. Are they waiting for Allah to come down to them in the shadow of a cloud with all the angels? Their fate will have been settled then. To Allah shall all things return. Ask the Israelites how many veritable signs we have given them. He that tempers with the boss of Allah after it has been bestowed on him shall be severely punished. Allah is stern in retribution. For the unbelievers of life, of this would be decked with all manner of temptations. They shall scoff at the faithful, but those that fear Allah shall be above them on the day of resurrection. Allah gives without measure to whom he will. Mankind were once one nation. Then Allah sent forth prophets to give them good news and to warn them, and with these he sent down the book with the truth, that it might judge the disputes of men, none disputed about it saved. Okay, 345. Alrighty. That it might judge the disputes of men, none disputed it served those to whom it was given, and that was through the envy of one another, after the veritable signs had been vouchsafed them, so Allah guided by his will those who believed and in the truth which had been disputed. Allah guides whom he will to the right path. Did you think that you would go to paradise untouched by the suffering which was endured by some aliens before you, afflictions and I can't dig on that. Did you think that you would go to paradise untouched by the suffering which was endured by those before you? Affliction and adversity befell them, and so hatred were, or so battered were they, that each apostle and those who had shared his faith cried out, quote, "When will the help of Allah come?" Second quote, no, his help isn't, well, it's far enough, has in here, his help and help, well, they will ask you about almsgiving, say, whatever you bestow in charity must go to your parents and to your kinsmen, to the orphan and to the poor man, and to the strangers. Allah is aware of whatever good you do. All right. Looks like about 8:33, folks. Looking like we're heading into the home stretch. I need a little break, if you don't mind. Don't want to get that all the way over there. Want a precise time check. Yeah, 8:33, got 10 minutes to go on tonight's show. Oh boy, some of that gets a little fuzzy on the brain, folks. So if you don't mind, a little break there. Okay. Page 346. Fighting is obligatory for you, much as you dislike it, but you may hate a thing although it is good for you, and love it although it is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not. They ask you about fighting in the sacred month. Say, to fight in this month, it is a great offense, but to debar others from the path of Allah, to deny Him and to expel His worshippers from the holy mosque is far more grave in His sight. Idolatry is worse than carnage. They will not cease to fight against you until they force you to renounce your faith, if they are able. But whoever of you recants and dies an unbeliever, his words shall come to nothing in this world and in the world to come. Such men shall be the tenants of hell, and where they shall abide forever. Those that have embraced the faith and those that have fled their land and fought for the cause of Allah may hope for Allah's mercy. Allah is forgiving and merciful. They ask you about drinking and gambling. Say, there is great harm in both, although they have some benefit for men, but their harm is far greater than their benefit. They ask you what they should give in alms. Say, what you can spare. Thus Allah makes plain to you His revelations, so that you may reflect upon this world and the hereafter. They question you concerning orphans. Say, to deal justly with them is best. If you mix their affairs with yours, remember they are your brothers. Allah knows the just from the unjust. If Allah is pleased, He could afflict you. He is mighty and wise. You shall not wed pagan women unless they embrace the faith. A believing slave girl is better than an idolatress, although she may please you, nor shall you wed idolaters unless they embrace the faith. A believing slave is better than an idolater, although he may please you. These call you to hellfire, but Allah calls you, by His will, to paradise and to forgiveness. He makes plain His revelations to mankind, so that they may take heed. They ask you about menstruation, say, it is an indisposition. Keep aloof from women during their menstrual periods, and do not touch them until they are clean again. Then have intercourse with them as Allah enjoined you. Allah loves those that turn to Him in repentance and strive to keep themselves clean. Women are your fields. Go then into your fields as you please. Do good works and fear Allah. Bear in mind that you shall meet Him. Give good news to the believers. Do not make Allah the subject of your oaths when you swear that you will deal justly and keep from evil and make peace among men. Allah knows all and hears all. He will not call you to account for that which is inadvertent in your oaths, but He will take you to task for that which is intended in your hearts. Allah is forgiving and lenient. Those that renounce their wives, an oath must wait 4 months if they change their mind. Allah is forgiving and merciful, but if they decide to divorce them, know that He hears all and knows all. Divorced women must wait, keeping themselves from men 3 menstrual courses. It is unlawful for them, if they believe in Allah and the last day, to hide what He has created in their wombs, in which case their husbands would do well to take them back should they desire reconciliation. Women shall with justice have rights similar to those exercised against them. Although men have status above women, Allah is mighty and wise. Divorce may be pronounced twice, and then a woman must be retained in honor or allowed to go with kindness. It is unlawful for husbands to take from them anything they have given them, unless both fear that they may not be able to keep within the bounds set by Allah, in which case it shall be no offense for either of them if the wife ransom herself. These are the bounds set by Allah. Do not transgress them. Those that transgress the bonds of Allah are wrongdoers. If a man divorces his wife, he cannot remarry her until she has wedded another man and been divorced by him, in which case it shall be no offense for either of them to return to the other, if they think they can keep within the limits set by Allah, and that is a revocable divorce or the renunciation of one's wife on oath. Such are the bounds of Allah. He makes them plain to men of understanding. And we're on page 348. Okay, we'll continue. Hi. When you have renounced your wives and they have reached the end of their waiting period, either retain them in honor or let them go with kindness, but you shall not retain them in order to harm them or wrong them. Whoever does this wrongs his own soul. Do not make game of Allah's revelations. Remember the favors He has bestowed upon you, and the book and the wisdom which he has revealed for your instruction. Fear Allah and know that he has knowledge of all things. If a man has renounced his wife and she has reached the end of her waiting period, do not prevent her from remarrying her husband if they have come to an honorable agreement. This is enjoined on every one of you who believes in Allah and the last day. It is more honorable for you and more chaste. Allah knows, but you do not. Mothers should give suck to their children for 2 whole years if the father wishes the suckling to be completed. They must be maintained and clothed in a reasonable manner by the father of the child. None should be charged with more than one can bear. A mother should not be allowed to suffer on account of her child, nor should a father on account of his child. The same duties devolve upon the father's heir, but if after consultation they choose by mutual consent to wean the child, they shall incur no guilt, nor shall it be any offense for you if you prefer to have a nurse for your child, provided that you pay her what you promise according to usage. Have fear of Allah and know that He is cognizant of all your actions. Widows shall wait, keeping themselves apart from men for 4 months and 10 days after their husband's death. When they have reached the end of their waiting period, it shall be no offense for you to let them do whatever they choose for themselves, provided that it is decent. Allah is cognizant of all your actions. It shall be no offense for you to openly propose marriage to such women or to cherish them in your hearts. Allah knows that you will remember them. Do not arrange to meet them in secret, and if you do, speak to them honorably, but you shall not consummate the marriage before the end of their waiting period. Know that Allah has knowledge of all your thoughts, therefore take heed and bear in mind that Allah is forgiving and lenient. It shall be no offense for you to divorce your wives before the marriage is consummated or the dowry settled. Provide for them with fairness, the rich man according to his means, and the poor man according to his. This is binding on righteous men. If you divorce them before the marriage is consummated, but after their dowry has been settled, give them half their dowry unless they or the husband agree to forgo it. But it is more proper that the husband should forgo it. Do not forget to show kindness to each other. Allah observes your actions. Attend regularly to your prayers, including the middle prayer, and stand up with all devotion before Allah. When you are exposed to danger, pray while riding or on foot, and when you are restored to safety, remember Allah, as He has taught you what you did not know. And we'll close it there at page 349. Let's get a time check. And time is 8:45 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. And read to page 349, and all right. We'll resume next week on page 350, or the next episode of the Islam Show, where we have now entered the Medinan surahs. Muhammad is in Medina. Well, it is still Yathrib, and he's explaining Islam and proper behaviors among Muslims in this, the Cow, Surah 2. Alrighty. And this has been the Sunday Evening Islam Show with your host, Richard Slezak, and we'll be talking to you next episode with more on Surah 2 and more history to come, putting some flesh on all those words. And we're still here at the Voice of Stockton, and let me, those of you on Facebook and YouTube, going to be ending the broadcast, the webcast, the audio, the video portion of the show. And that's a